And I'll turn it over to Coach to give a quick update on the program, and then we'll take questions.
All right, good to see everybody. Welcome. Appreciate you being with us here today. It's been a while. I think it's been before the Wisconsin game. So, couple things to update you on. Some of the things that have happened in our program, and then we'll open it up for questions. So, first off, we're really proud of our academic All-ACC players. This is the 5th consecutive year that we've had more than 4 players with this award. And Nick Anderson, Taylor Marin, Travion Red, Nick Skiba, and Zach Tom all represented Wake Forest on the academic All-ACC team. As you know, our schedule came out. And I think when the schedule comes out, that's always kind of set your focus for the season. We now know who we're playing and when we're playing them and where we're playing them. So we're excited. We've got a lot of time, and we need the time, just because for us, not getting in the weight room last year, I think took a toll on us. So we got to get ourselves strong again. And, we've got 20 of 22 starters back, all 11 on offense, 9 of the 11 on defense. We have over 50 years of experience coming back on defense. And again, with all the kind of super seniors coming back, I think that'll really help our depth. And I keep harping on that, but I think that's the most important thing for us to take that next step as a program. From 2010 to 2015, we kind of averaged about 4 wins a year. And then the last 5 years, not including the COVID year, we've averaged between 7, 8. And we'd like to take that next step and compete for championships and New Year's Day bowls. And, getting this experience back and creating depth are the things that have to happen for us to take that next step as a program. The opener is going to be against Old Dominion at home on Friday, September 3rd. And we're hoping we can have the same type of fan support for that game that we had for the Utah State game in 19. That was a great environment for our players in our program. Some staff changes. Chad Berry is now our head strength and conditioning coach. And, we hate to lose somebody the caliber of Brandon Horgan. Brandon did a great job for us here for the last 7 years. And before that, for me at Bowling Green and at Richmond. But the great thing is Chad has been in our program since we've been here, and he was with us at Bowling Green as well. So our players believe in him. He was ready to be a head strength coach. If it didn't happen here, it was going to happen somewhere else. So we were fortunate to have somebody of Chad's experience with his knowledge of our program and our players as we did. And I really believe that we will not miss a beat. Chad is more than ready to take over, and I think we're in great shape. Right now our team, not only do we have a lot of players back, but we were joined by 10 new guys mid-year, 8 freshmen and 2 transfers. So we have 10 players in the program that will be here for spring football and for workouts. And that'll give us a chance to acclimate those guys and, hopefully put them in a better position to contribute in 2021. Our pro day is going to be March 31st. We're certainly proud of all of our Deeks, but I think Boogie Basham and what he did at the Senior Bowl and the position he put himself in, I'm really happy for him. I'm proud of him. And I think it kind of justified the decision he made a year ago to come back. He's clearly improved his draft stock. He's put himself in a much better position by coming back and playing his senior year, even though it was COVID shortened. But we're really proud of him and look forward to what's going to happen for him in the next month. And we're certainly proud of Sage and Jamie as well. And we've invited all those guys to participate in our pro day on March 31st. Before questions, just two things. Congratulations to Jesse Bates on being named All-Pro. Just the amount of NFL success that our players have had this year, whether it be John Wolford, Kendall Hinton, Asang Bassi, Justin Huron, Jesse, so many former Deacs are starting to make an impact in the NFL, and we're proud of all of them. And then just on a little bit of a sad note, certainly our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of Ms. Sharon Jones, who worked here for 23 years. She lost her battle to cancer, and there was not a better person over in the pit. I mean, every time you saw her, she had a huge smile on her face. She was incredible to our student athletes, and especially our football players. They just loved Miss Sharon, and we're going to miss her. I didn't even know she was sick, and when we heard of her passing, we were devastated. She was just such a wonderful woman. And again, if you ran into Miss Sharon and you were in a bad mood, then you had a problem, because whatever mood you were in, she'd put you in a good one. So again, our hearts and prayers go out to her family, and she will be missed. So any questions you have, I'd be happy to answer them.
Dave, I was curious, have you set dates for spring ball? And it's obviously going to look different because of COVID. Have you kind of put those plans in order yet?
Yeah, we're planning on starting mid to late March. So we have a tentative start date of March 19th. And I think during the COVID era, everything's tentative. So, our games last year were tentative, our practices were tentative, so we have a plan, and the plan is very flexible and adjustable. But we're hoping to begin practice on March 19th. And that's usually a lot later than we normally start, John. We like to start in February. I just felt that after this season, how long it was, that the players, number one, just needed a little bit more of a break. And I think number two, we just wanted to give Chad and our strength coaches a chance to get these guys in the weight room with all the time we missed in there, and just build up our strength levels before we start practicing again.
Speaking of flexible and adjustable schedules, did 2020 adjust your thinking at all about how you might approach out-of-conference scheduling moving forward with John?
No. I mean, I think it's going to be play one Power 5, play one FCS, and the other two games, I would like those to be games of local interest. We'd like to play App. We'd like to play East Carolina. We'd like to play Charlotte. Playing games that people can drive to, that we attract the other fan base, and it makes for a better home environment. I think that's what we'd like to do, and that's not always possible. But I think unless the ACC changes how many ACC games we play, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think that probably is going to be our schedule model moving forward. We love playing the academies. We got Army on the schedule again this year, which, whether you go up to West Point and play at Mikey Stadium, which is an incredible experience, and they're a team that always draws a good fan base when they're in town. So I like where we are non-conference wise, and I don't see that changing.
Coach, in speaking with some of your coordinators and position coaches, it seems like a focus in both spring and fall camp is going to be internal positional competition. Is that safe to say that's where you hope to kind of build depth and kind of get the entire team to kind of raise their standards? Yeah,
and it certainly was a goal. That's been a big goal for us for 2 or 3 years, and I think the 8 or 9 additional scholarships this year from the super seniors will help in that process. We've always said that, within our program, there's a line. And if you're at or above that line, you can help us win. If you're not to that line, then we can't give you plays in the regular rotation. At every position, we have a target number we would love to have above that line. In certain positions last year, we had it. I thought in the defensive line, we had 8 to 10 guys that were playable. Linebacker, we probably didn't get to that point in terms of guys that we thought could play and win for us. So at every position, there's a goal. And what you want to do is if you get one of those people hurt and they're out for a couple of weeks or the season, you don't want your ability to win to really get decreased because you don't have the depth built in there. And now, the good thing is we had all these guys coming back. The good thing is we've recruited some really good freshmen. One of the consequences of that, because people coming back and the freshmen we recruited, that, we have some guys at positions that the senior ahead of them came back and then they had a freshman pass them by. And, in some of those cases, those players chose to go in the portal. And so, that was some of the attrition. If you look at where we had the attrition, a lot of it is in positions that a super senior came back and we had a true freshman really step up. So that's, an unintended consequence, but I love having those seniors back, and we love that we have freshmen like Nick Anderson and JJ Roberts and Kalen Carson that made a big impact their true freshman year.
One of those super seniors is Luke Masterson. It seems like I'm hearing he's being moved to linebacker. And if that's the case, can you walk me through that thought process and that move?
Yeah, Luke's a guy that the closer he plays to the box, the better he is. He probably was a better rover than a whip. And even a few years ago, when we had all those injuries at linebacker and we went down to Florida State, he played great. So we've wanted to move Luke there. We just couldn't because of our lack of safety depth. We were hoping to have Nasir Greer healthy this year. We were hoping to have Trey Rucker healthy this year. When all those guys got hurt and then Luke got hurt. And so, when Luke made the decision to come back, we told him that I think we're finally at a point at safety that we have depth. And we can now move you to linebacker. And not only is that good for you, that's good for our team because that's a position we really felt like we didn't have depth. And whenever you move people to positions, the position you move them from are happy. The position you move them to aren't always happy. And that's just part of it, that we have to make moves that we think are best for the team. And sometimes, other people may not be thrilled with it, but we took a team approach. We feel very good about the depth that we're developing as safety. If you look at safety, we're really hoping that Nasir Greer is going to come back and be healthy next year. I really think Nasir the previous year is one of the best safeties in the ACC. Trey Red had a great year for us at safety. He played really good football. AJ Williams had a good year for us at safety. Zion Keith, when he was healthy, played really well. Kobe Davis is healthy. Chalon Garnes in practice, I think has a chance to be a really good player. JJ Roberts, we're very excited about. And we've recruited 2 safeties that we're really excited about as well. So we kind of made a decision, listen, we're finally in a place at safety that we can probably move Luke to a position he's more suited for. And Luke is probably naturally 225, 230, 235 to continually get him to not gain weight. So we can, it just didn't make sense for us or for him. So I think this is really going to help us. I think he'll have a chance to be an outstanding linebacker. He's athletic, he's smart, he's instinctive. And getting him closer to the box has always been a goal, but we couldn't do that until we had our numbers right at safety. And I really believe with what we've recruited, what's coming back, getting Kobe Davis back gives us that flexibility at safety to move Luke to linebacker.
Hey, Coach, you've talked about being a program that doesn't beat itself. And you mentioned that at the end of the Wisconsin game. So how do you instill something like that, especially in the new players, as you guys start spring ball?
Well, Lauren, it's how we run the program. It's the emphasis that we put on, not having foolish pre-snap penalties, whether it's offsides or false starts, taking care of the football on offense, attacking the football on defense. And if you look at us the past 5 years, we've been one of the best teams in the country in turnover margin and in penalties. And for 8 games and 2.5 quarters last year, we were one of the best teams in the country at not turning it over. And then in 15 plays, we turned it over 4 times. So I really look at that as an aberration. I don't think that's who we are. But, our quarterbacks know if they don't take care of the football, they're not going to play. Our running backs know if they put the ball on the ground, they're not going to play. And we certainly have a reward system on defense for creating turnovers or even attempting to create turnovers on defense, that those are things that we chart. So those are some of the emphasis of our program. That's the way we've been since I've been here. That's the way that we were at Bowling Green. And I think if you look at our numbers, not every year, but traditionally, we're one of the better teams in the country in those areas.
Thank you.
Dave, are you concerned at all of any of the positions where you haven't built as much depth? You mentioned safety, you're doing well at that, but are there any some positions that you're kind of hoping to build more depth here coming when you guys start spring ball?
If we can stay healthy, this will be the best step we've ever had. I mean, I think we've got right now a number of capable quarterbacks. I think our running back depth, we're very excited about Christian Turner coming here from Michigan. I think he is a player that will really help us, but Christian Beal, Justice Ellison, we're getting Quentin Cooley back healthy. Amani Marshall got some really important reps, and we've got Will Towns coming in. So I feel good at tailback, receiver. We've got everybody coming back at tight end. We've got everybody coming back. O-line was a position we were thin, but we had a bunch of guys that were just on the cusp of being able to play. And now we've bought an extra year of development for a guy like George Sell or CJ Elmanis and Devontae Gordon. Really excited about Luke Pettibone. Christian Forbes had a really good freshman year. Spencer Clapp is coming back healthy, and Terrence Davis decided that he wanted to come back. And so last year we had older guys, and then we had really young guys. And I was very concerned in 21 that we were going to lose Javiante Nash, and we could lose Zach Tom or Sean McGinn or Loic Naya. Well, all those guys decided to come back. And so we got to get that next group playing and get them more playable. And not only will that help us in 21, I think that'll help us in 22.
I've got 2 pro-related questions to get to. Boogie Basham saves the rat. Is there going to be a pro day scheduled sometime soon on campus?
Yeah, we're going to do that on March 31st.
March 31st with those guys. And then did you get a chance to speak with John, who started the playoff game? Of course, it was kind of a bummer he got hurt, but I mean, you must have been proud to see him start in that spot. Yeah,
I've stayed in pretty close touch with John since he graduated, and we talked, I think, a day or 2 after they lost the second round. And matter of fact, our first team meeting this year, I had John join the team meeting on our Zoom call and just try to impart some wisdom and things that he's learned in the NFL of what separates the good NFL players from the great ones that have long lasting, consistent careers. And as you can imagine, John was outstanding. I mean, he's a great football player, a great person, a great demon deacon. We're proud of him for so many reasons. Football is obviously one of those things, but everything he does right. And he has stayed very connected to our program, and I'm grateful for that.
David,
going back to the comment about depth, what gives you optimism that you guys will be able to stay healthy?
Well, Connor, I mean, I think COVID was different in 19. we stayed really healthy for 2 months, and then we just had some catastrophic injuries that happen. Scotty Washington breaks his leg, Sage Surratt tears his shoulder. I don't know if you're ever going to avoid those injuries. 19 was the most proactive we've been in terms of avoiding soft tissue injuries and camp injuries. Last year we didn't have a chance to train these guys before training camp. And so, Connor, there's never a guarantee with that. I feel like we've learned so much about how to run a preseason camp and keep guys healthy that we benefited from that knowledge in 19. But that is clearly an area that we've got to continue to research, invest resources in, figure out best practices. I wish I could say, hey, I found the magic formula and we're not going to get hurt next year. It's just, and it always seems to be one position. Last year it was safety. I mean, when we got out of the North Carolina game between COVID and injuries, I mean, we didn't have a secondary. So again, you put numbers there. If you put numbers there, hopefully more guys are above the line. If you can create depth and guys are playing 50 plays a game instead of 60 or 70, you would hope that would reduce their exposures and lower the chance of them getting injured.
Dave, there was some talk a couple years ago with your rash of injuries about the artificial turf there at Truist Field. Is there any thought about changing back to grass or anything like that? Did you guys look at that, or is that something that?
No, we go back and break that stuff down. I mean, we play there's very few teams in the ACC now that we play against grass. I mean, BC is turf, Syracuse is turf. Most of the teams, Carolina is now turf. We're turf. I think almost every, Mikey Stadium is turf. And so you're always going to go back and say, well, geez, more of these injuries happen on turf than on grass, but more of our plays are on turf. Proportionally, it's hard to really evaluate that when you play so few games on grass anymore. And part of it, John, is if we play games on turf, we got to practice on turf to get used to the surface. Now, fortunately, now we have a grass field, a full grass field, so that when we play teams on grass, North Carolina State, Duke, that we're able to practice on that surface. The problem with grass is you get one of those hurricane, bad weather Saturdays and it's chewed up for the rest of the year.
And I was wondering, how many are you going to have in camp? If you added it all up, I mean, you said it's going to be the most that you've had. I mean, it's.
Oh, man. I mean, that's a good problem, but we always had trouble. You're allowed to invite 110 to camp. And we always had trouble getting to 110. And, it's amazing. We've done a much better job of recruiting really good walk-ons here. Obviously Nick Anderson, but a lot of the players who you haven't even seen play yet that I think will help us. So next year we're allowed to invite 110 players to camp, plus, whatever they're terming it, the super seniors, the guys that are seniors with extra year of eligibility. So right now, that would be 119. We'll have to cut to get to that number. So this is a good problem. Our numbers are good. There's a lot of good players that are turning down FCS scholarships or other good academic schools for a chance to play at Wake Forest and play in the ACC and get a Wake Forest degree. So our numbers program-wise are great. They've never been better.
Dave, where do you kind of rate the quarterback position going into spring camp? Sam had a pretty effective season and then a really rotten 12-play sequence in the bowl game. How's his head in the last month or so, and where do you see that position moving forward? Well,
Sam will go into camp as a starter. I think overall, Sam had a really good season and a solid season for us. Moments that he was really good and other moments that, he'd be the first to tell you. He's not happy at all how he played in the bowl game. we certainly need to give all the quarterbacks in the room a chance to compete. When you go out there day one, Sam's the starter, but you need competition and you need to develop depth. And we feel very good about Michael Kern and Mitch Griffiths, and we're excited to see what they can do with a full spring. Neither of those guys have been through a spring before. Well, Michael Kern kind of went through the 1 year, but he was a little banged up. So this will be for our quarterback position in the future of it. This is going to be a really important spring. And, we're really going to be able to go 3 deep. So we got to get those guys reps. The only way you can develop as a quarterback is to get reps. And fortunately, because of our depth across the board, we don't have to take reps away from a 1 to give reps to a 2 or a 3 this year. We'll be able to give a 3 deep pretty good reps.
You had mentioned at one point, Dave, about maybe doing a quicker spring camp. Like if everybody's healthy and COVID free, just go ahead and knocking the whole thing out in 3 weeks. Is that still something you're toying with, or is it going to be a normal pacing?
That is my plan right now, that instead of averaging 3 practices a week for 5 weeks, we're going to try to knock it out in about 3 weeks. So we're going to try to get in, it's going to be like 3 weeks and a weekend. So, if we get the all clear and we're healthy enough to practice because of COVID, I don't want to stretch it out and increase the risk that what happened to us in the season could happen to us in the spring.
Any plans for a spring game of sorts?
I don't know, Les. I'm really going to take it as we go. Part of the reason you do a spring game is for the fans, get to the stadium, have a game experience. We can do game situations in practice and teach guys football. If the fans can't be there, in some ways, I'd rather just have, multiple scrimmages. So we're going to, again, take that as it goes. I think you guys know me. I like to plan ahead, and usually I can tell you what we're going to be doing in the middle of May 2026. COVID has changed all that. I just know this spring that we've got a plan, and I'm ready to adapt and adjust, and whatever comes our way after dealing with the 2020 season, man, it's all, it's all ice cream and cake and chocolate syrup. We'll be able to deal with anything.
Dave, academically, all the guys with extra years, are they all master's degree candidates, or do they get extra time to finish their undergrad?
Some of them are, there's 3 different categories. Some of them are pursuing a second master's. Some of them are going to get their master's, and others of them will get a double major or add minors. But for every single one of them, there will be an academic benefit to it as well.
Has Courtney convinced you at all to watch any of Matt James' season of The Bachelor?
Don't do it.
So I watched the opening show, and last night at 8 o'clock, I was watching Wheel of Fortune with my son, and The Bachelor was on next. And I said, okay, can I do it? And I hung in there for about 20 minutes, and then I just, I don't know how they do that, but I gave it 20 minutes. I saw the rose ceremony, and then I was out. So Matt handles himself extremely well. He's smart. He's very socially adept. I think he's handled himself well from what I've seen, and it's just a hard show for me to watch. I watched the original one, whatever that was, with my wife, like in the 90s. And I think that's the last one I watched.
You must have enjoyed seeing him the first episode wear a Kevin Johnson jersey, though.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you saw that.
And again, he brings up Wake. My favorite thing is when he had his interview with the ACC network, and, first impression, hometown, and who you marry. And he was a true Deke. He stayed married to Wake Forest. So those are all good things. I think Matt's proud he went to Wake Forest. He's proud of his degree. He's proud that he played football here. And again, he represents himself extremely well, which is no surprise to any of us that know Matt or had a chance to work with him. right, are we good?
Appreciate you, Coach.
Yeah, thanks. My pleasure. And again, hopefully we all get vaccinated here soon and we can get back together live. And Connor, you can ask me all those interesting questions off the record.
Thanks, Dave.
Can't wait.
Connor, hide your enthusiasm.